Hello, I believe I am live. Thank you so much for joining me for a live on this very special day for Aussies. Anyway, it's Australia Day here in Oz, and it's in the afternoon on a Sunday. And after this live, I will be heading off down to my mum's. We're going to have a celebration on her balcony. And also, it was my son's 18th birthday this weekend. So we've got a dual celebration happening in our household today. So yeah, happy Australia Day to all the Aussies out there. I've actually seen some really kind comments from people in the USA, and not so much from the UK because I think it's a little bit early for them, wishing us a happy Australia Day, which is just lovely to see. Thank you so much. I'm sure we all appreciate it very much. So there's been so much royal news. I just had to come on. There's just so much juicy news. Of course, I will kick off with Catherine, the Princess of Wales, because I said whenever there is news on Catherine, I will always start with her. I am incredibly biased when it comes to Catherine. I do not try to hide my fangirling when it comes to Catherine, the Princess of Wales. So I've got the silly sort of frivolous story about the Vogue cover, but I've also got a serious story to share. Not serious as in depressing and sad, but, you know, her great work with the Royal Foundation. I want to share a little bit of that and give a bit of a shout out to that. We've got a lot of juice. There's been a bit of a bitch fight that's actually broken out between Piers Morgan and Hugh Grant on X. I've been watching that with my popcorn. It's been so entertaining. It was made all the more entertaining when John Cleese of Monty Python fame, of course, actually weighed in on the debate. So that's quite delicious. I'm going to share a little bit about that. I'm also going to share a bit of more serious side aspect to that story about updates from the Prince Harry settlement for his court case. So if you haven't seen my snarky snippet yet, I said he folded like a cheap suit. Wasn't that bitchy? It was so bitchy of me, but very apt, I thought. So, and I've got a few lighter things about the Spencer girls to finish up with. So it's going to be a jam-packed live, just absolutely filled with information. I'm going to say hello to everybody. Hello, happy Aussie Day, Mary West. Happy Australia Day from Barbara Martin. And hello from California. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. I believe it's very, very late in parts of the USA. Not so late if you're around the Portland area, I believe. And horrifically early if you're in the UK. I'm so sorry. I had to get this up and running so I could still head off to my mum's a little bit later. So there you go. So you've all got to suffer and fit in with my timetable, okay? All right, so let's get on with the story about Catherine and the Vogue cover, which I thought was a bit of a hoot. So this was sort of breathlessly reported by Daily Mail Showbiz, and they called her Kate Middleton. Of course they called her Kate Middleton. I give up at this stage. I give up. I mean, can we correct them any more times? Anyway, Catherine offered to appear on Vogue covers to showcase role as global fashion icon. Now that makes it sound that Catherine actually asked for the Vogue cover, which is an unfortunate sort of wording there, which I think might be deliberate, don't you, to get the clicks? But of course, no. It came the other way around. Anne Winter actually asked Catherine to appear on a Vogue cover. I wouldn't say asked as much as begged Catherine to appear on a Vogue cover, because you could just imagine. Look, Anne, will we tell her? Will we tell her, everyone? Anne, Catherine doesn't need you, but you need Catherine. And I'm sort of noticing this big sort of push now from some of these glossies. I think they've realised the tide has turned. They're trying to curry favour with the one that matters, with the future queen. And can you blame them? Can you blame them? Now, I'll just read you the little article. The Princess of Wales have been offered the global covers of Vogue. The Mail on Sunday understands. Now, Anne Winter, the magazine's editor-in-chief and the most powerful woman in fashion, is said to have made a personal appeal. Now, she's given her everything. She can choose her own photographer. She can make her own fashion choices. She can decide whether to grant an interview or not. Now, the only reason that Catherine would actually deem to do this would be if it was of benefit to British fashion. If she thought it would just, send them through the roof, well, then she'd do it. she would do it as an ambassador for her country. The only other reason she would do it would be if it benefited the Royal Foundation in some way. If she could put that front and centre via a Vogue, cover, well, then she will do it to actually advertise, and hopefully encourage investment in the Royal Foundation. I believe the Royal Foundation as a charity, not a private enterprise, scam, is going to roll out in the USA this year as well. They do want to take it global because they think that they'll have more impact and have more benefit that way. I've got a really good initiative that the Royal Foundation actually is doing to help babies 0 to 24 months. I'm just going to show you that next because it's just fantastic. It's a great initiative. So there you have it. Anne is begging Catherine to appear on her cover. And look, the difference between Catherine and the other one on the other side of the pond, which we will not name, she who will not be named. The difference is that Catherine doesn't do it for ego purposes. She'll only do it if it has some benefit to others, then she will do it. She's a very different sort of fish to Rachel. She doesn't need it for her ego. She just doesn't need it. I think actually that's where Lady C's description of Catherine comes into play, where she said in her book, her updated book, she said that she had a vocation. She also said that about Sophie, that they had a genuine vocation for the duty of the role. And I think that sums it up. I think she has a genuine vocation. She just really isn't about it for herself. Anyway, that's my opinion. You may disagree, but that's how I view it anyway. I'm going to say g'day. Hello, everybody. No, it's not the tail end of the live. It's not the tail end of the live. I've only just started, M-I-M-O. Just catching the tail end of the live. Happy Australia Day, fellow Aussies. Enjoy your family weekend shorter. Yes, well, it is late on a Sunday here, so I'm sort of at the end of my family weekend, but a celebration coming tonight, like I said. So the next story I want to share about Catherine, the Princess of Wales, is a little more serious one, and it was one that she put up on her Instagram, which I thought was worth actually paying attention to. This year I'm going to try and pay attention to the work that she is doing. I think it needs to be highlighted. And actually, if you want to head off to the Royal Foundation website, which I will link after the live finishes in the description box, it really does give you great information about the work that the Royal Foundation is doing. Now, this particular initiative is thousands more families will benefit as Royal Foundation-backed program to promote babies' wellbeing expands into 8 more areas in the UK. So, under her Instagram post, Catherine actually said this: great to see the expansion of the Alarm Distress Baby Scale trial to 8 more NHS sites across the UK this year. Now, that actually means that thousands of families will actually have access to this. And what it means, I went and looked it up. The Alarm Distress Baby Scale is a tool used to identify social withdrawal in babies. So it sort of looks after their eye contact, facial expressions, vocalization, activity level, that sort of thing. And then they can intervene if there's anything sort of seen amiss. Now, normally you would have to get a referral to a specialist, like a specialist pediatrician, in order if you had any concerns about your child up to 24 months. And this way, with this program, this trial, you don't have to, because it's going to be sort of rolled out. It's not going to cost people anything. So thousands and thousands of family will get access to specialist advice, really, if they have concerns about their baby. And I remember as a first-time mum, you're looking up for all those milestones and everything, and your head was, it used to be in a book checking benchmarks and checking that everything was all okay. I had one boy that didn't speak for so long, and I used to stress about it so much. Now he won't shut up. He's just a very fluent speaker, like his mother. But it would have been great to have that sort of reassurance and access to specialists, and especially if it doesn't cost you anything, that would be even better. So that's the great work that the Royal Foundation is actually doing, which is good stuff, all good stuff. Just going to share a few comments. JC, Princess Catherine should do Vogue. I can hear the planes crashing. in Melodramacito now. Yes, JC, I'm sure they would be. Oh, I've got to say, Meghan Markle has not had a good month. She has not had a good month. She must have been wondering what is happening with her 2025. It just hasn't been good. And of course, Harry, I did the snarky snippet about his court case. Well, there's been an update. I woke up to updates, and I want to run by my opinion on this with you and just see what you have to say. After the lives, I always go through all your comments. I read every one. I'm going to leave the chat up so that everyone can see what you think. A lot may not agree with me, and that's good because that's interesting, and I learn, it's good to learn from different points of view. So the Guardian, probably with great glee, if the Guardian actually came out with this. Oh, what have I done? It's gone. There you go. Police request transcripts from Prince Harry's case against the owner of the Sun. Now, prior to the police actually requesting transcripts, it was probably just sort of hyperbole on the court steps. It was pretty much just statements made by Sherborne in order to sort of, save Harry's ego and to make it look good. It was all about saving Harry's ego and to make it look good. I mean, Sherborne wanted to get paid. He wanted this settlement. He was a little concerned that he wouldn't get his reported something like 7 million or something, people are saying. I don't know if it was that much for Sherborne, but he probably thought probably good to settle. That way I'll get my payday. So this was the hyperbole. We'll cover that first. On the steps of the court on Wednesday, the claimant's barrister David Sherborne had further claimed the disclosures made by NGN over the 5 years that the case has been running offered grounds for a fresh police investigation into perjury and cover-ups. Now, like I said, that was just dismissed by a lot of people as sort of just trying to save face. Oh, yeah. And then it was said that Lord Watson has said that he intends to submit a dossier of evidence to the Met Commissioner. The Guardian understands that this file is being compiled as we speak by Watson's lawyers who intend to submit the evidence within weeks. Well, now the police have sort of got on the front foot with this. Now, this is where I want to talk to you seriously and see what you think, okay? About a year ago, I made a few videos where I was saying that it's a great pity that Prince Harry was actually even involved in any of these cases, because it immediately then became a fight for freedom of speech against censorship. His remarks about the First Amendment being bonkers. I mean, that understandably got everyone's backs up. It made everyone wary of his true agenda and who was actually backing him. And that's fair enough. I think I would feel the same way if I was a USA citizen. Then, under the guise of platforming of safety for children, all that, and the introduction of social media censorship, all that, I made several videos about that. Won't bore you silly going over all that. So there was those concerns, and I think they were valid concerns. And those valid concerns sort of came with Harry to this case. Now, what a lot of people don't realise is that the phone hacking and all that wasn't going to even be heard in this case. It had nothing to do with it. Press regulation wasn't going to be heard in this case. So no new form of regulation or shutting down of free speech or anything like that was actually going to be the result of this civil case that had already been covered in Levinson. There's, nothing more in that regard is going to happen. People may try, but it's not going to happen. It's all been dealt with. What this case was more about holding those in power, like Rupert Murdoch, to account. Now, currently, I'm on a little bit of a crusade because of the grooming gangs and other stories, and of course, the horrific story of Axel, Ruta Cabana, and the Southport tragedy of horrific murders. Holding power to account, holding corrupt officials to account, making them accountable for their failures to protect, and their failures, and corruption in the police force and corruption amongst politicians. I'm on a bit of a journey on that at the moment. And I think that this does play into that. And I have to sort of remove Prince Harry out of it. I have to take the politics out of it and sort of say, well, look, if there's a case to answer and there's evidence, it should be tested in a criminal court. So I guess I'm agreeing with Hugh Grant's take on this in his bitch fight on X. Plus, I have a little bit of bias about that because Piers Morgan actually blocked me. Remember when Catherine was getting piled on about the Mother's Day photo? Didn't like his response. Didn't appreciate his response. I found him a bit of a fair weather friend. Also, I thought that he sort of joined in the pile on about her being missing and all this sort of rubbish when clearly she was recovering from surgery. I think he fueled it and I didn't appreciate it. So I made a snarky snippet about calling him and others that seemingly switched sides to account after it all died down. And he blocked me. He didn't like it. Then, at a later date, he unblocked me, and then I made another video critical of him about his reaction to the baby reindeer story. You know that lawyer that was actually stalked by the real-life Martha? I thought he really did her a disservice. So I went after him again about that on the baby reindeer story, and he blocked me again. So now I remain blocked. So, you know, he's a bit thin-skinned. He doesn't like being called out, yet he will call out people whenever it suits him. And I really resented the people that, you know, weighed in on Catherine, piled in on Catherine. I think that we know the people that didn't shift, didn't switch sides, were faithful and protective of her at her most vulnerable moment. I think that's good. I think loyalty is a good thing. And I also think fairness is a good thing. So I called out people that weren't loyal and weren't fair, which is fair enough. So this has resulted in, I think, Piers Morgan reacting in quite a fearful manner because, let's face it, he as well as Rupert Murdoch would not like their role in all of this examined. Now, of course, the Sun has said that they are completely blameless and that may be proven in a court. But I do agree with Hugh Grant that maybe it should have been tested in a criminal court, not tested in a civil case. I mean, that's just sort of a waste of everybody's time. And it really just enabled Prince Harry to grandstand once again. And did we really need to see Prince Harry grandstanding once again? So let's have a look at this fight that is unfolding on X, which is so entertaining. First, I've got to see John Cleese has weighed in on a row between Piers Morgan and Hugh Grant over Rupert Murdoch, with the faulty Tower star calling Morgan lazy and sloppy. Ooh, go for it, John Cleese. Grant and Morgan have been engaged in a spat on X this week after the government ruled out a reopening of the Levinson inquiry, which Grant has been leading calls for. I don't think there needs to be a Levinson 2. There should have been at the time, though, because that was what was going to expose the links between corrupt police, corrupt politicians, and just, newspaper moguls, that sort of thing. That Levinson 2 was going to expose that. But it's too late to go back there now. And if there isn't sort of criminal charges to answer, well, then just let it all go. Let it die. But it'll be interesting if evidence is deemed to be there. Well, okay, test it in a court of law. So this was my response, because my bitchy response, because, like I said, Piers Morgan blocked me. So Hugh Grant had to go back at Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan was accusing Hugh Grant of taking millions of pounds from Rupert Murdoch, and he said, BS, the last time I worked for a Murdoch-owned company was in 1994, which was long before I knew anything about his paper's methods. Since then, I have turned down every single job offer emanating from a Murdoch-owned company. He has actually had his programs distributed by Murdoch-owned companies, but he makes the point that he can't help that. So, I mean, you may disagree with that. That's all fine too. But I did make a little bitchy comment. I couldn't resist. I just said, I think Piers just got slapped. I think he did. I think Piers just got slapped. So we'll see. And like I said, I think a little bit of it is fear. Maybe the fact that a lot of stuff it could get dragged up, that he doesn't want dragged up, which is understandable. But I could be wrong, could be completely wrong about all that. Then, of course, it is reported that Hugh Grant has called for a criminal investigation, so he wasn't calling for Levinson 2 anymore, following Prince Harry's recent settlement with the publisher. The actor, who previously settled his own privacy claim against the Sun's publisher last year, insists that civil lawsuits are not the right instrument to uncover the real truth of what has occurred. And I would argue that. I would argue that too. I don't think civil cases are the right instrument, because aren't civil cases used to shut people down? Aren't civil cases used to sort of push agendas that are, have nefarious sort of intention behind them? And I think they are used to often just shut people up. I mean, look at the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni case. I mean, civil cases can be used to actually slap people down and make them quiet and compliant and stop them telling the truth. So, I think maybe a criminal court is maybe a little more impartial. I'm going to go to your comments now and see what you think. Rosie, snarky Shauna, not bitchy. Well, you're very kind. You're very kind. Very kind. Probably a little too kind, probably. Adam's aunt. Oh, that's cute. I'm a big Cleese fan. He's no bullshit. Yes, I agree. I'm a big Cleese fan too. He is. He just says it like he is. And let's face it, he's earned his right to say it as it is, hasn't he? He really has. I mean, all those years in the beers. And I love the fact that, he makes the point that Monty Python's humour, there is no way it would survive in this day and age, because it just is not politically correct at all, is it? Shauna, can you get double blocked? No, you can't get double blocked, but you can be blocked, then unblocked, Susan, and then blocked again. So I had a brief moment where I was in the sunshine once more, and then I was tossed once more. So yeah, so it's a block, unblock, block situation. Okay. Yes, very valid point. Very valid point from Laura Weiss. The burden of proof isn't quite as high in a civil case than a criminal one in the States. Yes, exactly, Laura. And I think that that's why, if there is a case found to answer, like if there's enough evidence in that the Director of Public Prosecutions actually will bring a case, well then, yeah, bring it on. I'll be there with my popcorn. It wouldn't hurt to see Rupert Murdoch, feel a little bit of heat. I don't think it would hurt. I don't think it would hurt. The other interesting thing, though, was that James Murdoch was very much to the fore around the time of the Levinson inquiry. A lot of people forget that. And of course, James Murdoch is Harry's big buddy, I believe. I mean, they went off to those, conferences together, the Google conference and all that sort of thing, where they're running around in their bare feet and trying to fix all the problems of the world by shutting down free speech. James Murdoch was at the forefront around that time. So you would think that possibly, if there is a criminal case found to be answered, that, it's going to drag all sorts of people in. So it will be indeed very interesting to cover, I would imagine. And also, the other interesting thing is, it's not really going to involve Harry front and centre. I mean, the evidence from discovery from that civil case would be used, but it really wouldn't be about Harry. And I'm all for that. I don't want it to be about Harry. Had enough of Harry. Very definitely. Now, I did want to bring up about Harry's case against the Daily Mail, because I thought this was really, really interesting. Now, the reason why it's interesting is he's not going to be able to settle this one. He's not going to fold like a cheap suit. He's not going to be able to wimp out when it comes to the Daily Mail, because the Daily Mail have said explicitly, we are not backing down. We are not going to offer a settlement. This is very definitely going to go to trial. So Daily Mail are very sure of their position, and they're digging their heels in. And it was interesting. So the judges who sort of reviewed the costs for the upcoming Daily Mail trial actually said that it's costing a manifestly excessive amount of money. Two judges ruled yesterday. They said the estimated £38.8 million case were outside the range of reasonable. Well, I think that might be. Senior Master Cook, who manages court case budgets, said he and the trial judge, Mr. Justice Nicklin, had little difficulty concluding that such sums were manifestly excessive. And they point actually to the fact that some lawyers were charging $750. I don't know whether it was per minute or per hour, but it was in excess of what they thought was reasonable. So they're really cracking down on this, and they're saying, come on, pull up your socks. This is getting beyond belief. And it came to the estimated 38.8 million. And they're saying it should only come to about 4.8 million, around that sort of realm. So it's vastly different. And they're not going to take any nonsense in this Daily Mail case. But I just thought it was fascinating that the Daily Mail are not going to back down. Now, we all know that Rupee wanted to settle because, let's face it, he paid out over $1 billion settling 1,300 cases. So, he just wants all this to go away. He doesn't want everyone looking into it anymore. And like I said, all about holding power to account, not about regulation of the press. Now, with the Starmer government in place, I mean, who knows if they would use the outcome, somehow as a precedent to somehow try to suppress even more speech that's already being suppressed in the UK. Am I allowed to say that? Allegedly. For a personal opinion. I'm just looking at all our UK friends over there and I'm thinking, how are you going? You've got the most wonderful country, but it just seems a little suppressed at the moment. Let me know what you think in the comments, but it just seems a little suppressed. Now, I wanted to get on to something light and fluffy, and this is, of course, the Spencer girls, the beautiful Spencer girls. I've got to look up their names because I always forget. Lady Kitty, Lady Amelia, and Lady Eliza. I wanted to get that right. On the front cover of Tatler, and the reason why I bring it up is they're praising our beautiful William. In a spread for Tatler's March 2025 issue, the blonde beauties opened up about continuing Princess Diana's legacy, including working alongside Prince William for Centrepoint, which of course is the homeless charity, Centrepoint. And they praised him. They praised him a lot. They love cousin William. They think he's done a great job. So good on you, girls. I quite like the Spencer girls, I think Uncle Charlie is firmly the sulky sidekick of Harry now. So it's good to see the Spencer girls actually coming out and defending their cousin. And tell me what you think about Uncle Charles actually singling out Harry for praise with his civil case. And, he settled, same as William did, but not singling out William for his real achievements of actually bringing the whole thing to the public sphere in the first place. It was William that actually raised the alarm. It was because of William that the whole thing kicked off, that there was criminal prosecutions and the evidence he provided. It was because of William the Levinson inquiry actually happened. So, but Uncle Charles didn't mention that. He didn't give William any praise. He just praised, Prince Pratt, but he didn't praise William, which I thought was extraordinary because usually uncles would love their nephews the same and would support their nephews in the same way. I mean, for the sake of family harmony and peace, you would think so. So I am cheering on the Spencer girls because they are firmly in William's corner, and I think William needs people in his corner. So that's a good thing. I wanted to share King Charles III's beautiful photograph for Burns Night to actually signify Burns Night. And it was taken in the Balmoral Library. Now, this was a big deal to me because, loving books, avid book reader. Do you think I haven't blown up this? I haven't blown up the Balmoral Library photo and sort of had a really good look at all the volumes that I can see in the Balmoral Library. And I like the beautiful antique, no doubt, first editions under the hand of King Charles III. Does anybody else find books as sexy as I do? I mean, if a guy's got a good library, I'm his. I'm his, basically. If a guy's got a library that's got one of those wooden ladders that slides along on the rails, oh, look, it would take, I think I would divorce my husband at that point. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I used to work in a beautiful independent bookshop when I was pregnant with my first baby. And they had one of those wooden ladders that slid across on the rails so you could get to the top. And they had all these beautiful first editions. And oh my God, I was in heaven. I was in heaven. I would just, literally close up the shop and then go around smelling the books. I just love books. I love bookshops. That's one of the reasons why I really want to get to the UK in the not too distant future and actually just do a bookshop tour. I would be happy just doing that, going around, doing my 84 Charing Cross Road sort of tour holiday of the UK. So there is King Charles III in the beautiful Balmoral Library. And of course, it was to celebrate Burns Night. For those of you that are in the USA or Australia and don't know what Burns Night is, because I had to look up and check, I sort of gathered that it was going to be about Robert Burns, but I did look it up just to check. Who was Robert Burns? Well, of course, world famous poet and, a favoured son of Scotland. So they celebrate on the 25th of January in honour of him, in honour of Scotland's national poet, Robert Burns. And I'll never forget, actually, do you remember during the pandemic that Catherine and William actually did a really moving video, and it was a tribute to Burns Night. And because a lot of NHS workers were, they couldn't even see their families or anything. A lot of them were in quarantine themselves and just at work, basically. Well, Catherine and William provided them with a Burns Night sort of haggis meal, because that's what's traditional haggis and mashed potato and gravy and sort of things like that. And they provided a traditional meal, and they were all sort of spaced, the nurses and that was spaced so that they could enjoy this special meal. And they also had a beautiful present on each table for every nurse, and they did this tribute during the pandemic, and they had the tartan on and everything, and it was really lovely. They do thoughtful, really good, meaningful things like that for people, and I'm sure all the the nurses appreciated it at the time in Scotland. So here we go. Oh no, I can't read out another comment from you. I'm sorry. Hopefully a lot of you got to read it anyway. Catherine, just bought a new Bible today, 1-to-1 in larger font. It's beautiful and pretty pink. Well, that's nice. I think large font books, particularly the Bible, would be lovely, and it would be a lot easier to read. I've actually got a large font book that's up the back, and it's the David Essex one. That's a large font book. But to tell you the truth, I don't really need large font books now. I just got it because it had a really big picture of David Essex on the cover. And when I was young teen, I loved David Essex. I've actually got David Essex. Oh, you can see him. I've got the David Essex album up the back next to the book. I actually put it up. That's all the fun of the fair. David Essex. Hold me close, don't let me go. That's my really bad accent. It's my impression. Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry, Adam's aunt. I do tend to go, for some reason, I always go for the same comments whenever I'm, bringing them up on the screen. I need someone to actually bring them up on the screen for me because they fly past so quickly. I just miss them. Kelly at Freedom, love books. Oh, don't we all? Don't we all? This is from Alice Sings. Oh, you sing, Alice. Can you sing? Hold Me Close, David Essex. I'm so happy I've caught a live stream. Love from Pacific Northwest. David Essex is fantastic. Oh, he was. And he had the most piercing blue eyes. He was just divine. I had a big poster up in my bedroom. Just loved him. So I think that's all I've got to say for this live. I just wanted to pop in and give you all the latest news. Let me know what you think about the updated, thing about the court case and possible referral for criminal prosecution. Are you for it? Are you against it? Are you into holding those powerful to account? I understand the concerns if people think that it may actually interfere or result in more censorship or something like that. I'm on board with you with that, but I don't think it's about that. I think it really is about cover-ups and corruption and connections with the police and politicians and all sorts of things. Yeah, I think a lot of people may be shaking in their shoes, but it would have to have a huge amount of evidence to bring it to a criminal court. Like, people have pointed out, a civil case is a very different bar when it comes to evaluating evidence. Just going to share a few more of your comments. Erin Abu, gosh, I had posters of David Bowie and Duran Duran in my room. Well, yeah, actually, I think I probably did too. Duran Duran, I did. Yeah. This is from Elizabeth Griffiths. I think there is no proof. Harry settled because he would have lost. Yes, he may have lost to prove his allegations, Elizabeth, but I'm just wondering whether there might be something unrelated to Harry. That was my point. But you make a very good point. Yep. Highly likely. I mean, who knows? Who knows until we see if it ever does get tested in court. You may be very well right. Yvonne Burns, Spandau Ballet for me. Oh gosh, this brings back memories of Countdown. Did any of the Aussies here in this live stream actually watch Countdown with Molly? Yeah, that's fun. Now, I just want to... Oh, yes, Amy, I like the photos that are in the book you're reading each Friday. I should share some, shouldn't I, Amy? I should take photographs of the book that she's talking about, Diana versus Charles by James Whittaker. I actually flicked past, there's a whole section of really good photographs in the middle of the book, and I just flicked through them. I think before next Friday, I will actually take some photos of photos, and try and share a couple in next Friday's weekly book chat. So thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. And I will see you throughout the week, of course, for Gossip Before Bed and the weekly book chat. I'm also going to be doing a deep dive with Phil Craig on the Southport horrific crime. We're going to be looking into potential cover-ups, the fact that Prevent in the UK didn't actually do their job. They didn't prevent it happening. So we're going to be looking into all the background of that and how it could have been prevented, and possibly, the negligence that is to blame for that. So I'm going to be doing that with Phil later in the week. And I have got a big surprise coming up for you. It's a first for the Vintage Read Show. It's coming up this Thursday evening. I will pre-advertise it so you know what it is, but it's going to be very exciting. So I hope you will join me this week for some fun. Again, happy Australia Day to all the Aussies out there. Thank you to all the very brave, up early UK people. And thank you to all my USA friends. I do appreciate it when you make the effort to join me so late for you at night. Love you all very much. I'm going to end the stream now. I don't want to go, but I've got to go to my mum's. See you. Bye. Bye. Love you all. Bye.